Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy, whether it's investing, leasing, renting, home insurance, or myths and misconceptions. Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, to help you make the right home buying decision for you and your family, here are your hosts.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and welcome to Welcome Home Radio. This is our 202 show. We are just so excited to be on and have some key announcements real quick. You can find us not only on welcomehomeradio.net, but we'll be on Facebook and YouTube, and you can find us on Apple, Google, Pod Paradise, Podcast Addict, Podcast Index, Listen Notes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Amazon. We are so excited. Welcome Home Radio has made it into that world. So today we are going to be talking about first-time home buyers and all the important things you need to know. Tom, how you doing? We lost our co-host there for a second.
I are well, very good, very good. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
But wait a minute, you got to give us a quick update. I hear you're going to Hawaii.
Yes. That looks like at the end of this week, I go to a conference. CSBS, Champion School of Real Estate, sponsors me to be able to go and hear about all the mortgage updates and how the NMLS system is going to change over the next year and the changes, how they're affecting us already. And then I get a break for 10 days in Kauai. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. The professor is relaxing.
He is going to take some time with his family and have a great time somewhere out in the Pacific Ocean. Never been there.
Are you going to come back lobster clawed? I mean,
I would think so.
All red and hot and bothered.
Well, aren't I that way already?
Well, you don't get out very much out in the Texas sun here, so maybe the Hawaiian sun. So that's exciting. I am so glad you're getting to go. I hope you have a great time. Please visit the Pearl Harbor Memorial. It's well worth it.
On the list. That is on the list.
A lot of fun there. But hey, today we are going to be talking about first-time home buyers and the loan difference programs, all the programs and the differentiation. Very, very important, especially with the year coming up, with rates increasing, home values increasing, loan limits increasing. Which loan is best for you and why? I think this is a very critical topic. Alan is the one that suggested this one because he has so many first-time home buyers and they're not sure. And we understand what works in the market. Hopefully Alan can join us back here shortly. But right off the bat, Tom, give us an overview, just a basic. And we've got 4 major loans out there for people to use. Really, 3 of them are the wide variety type and maybe even 2. But the other 2 tend to be geographically limiting or conditionally per personnel conditions. So why don't you take us a quick overview of those 4 loan types, please?
Well, to start off with, and I think your subject matter is wonderful today. It's actually something I got finished in my class yesterday teaching with regards to it's the loan officer's responsibility to find the type of product that is best suited for their consumer, for the person they're working with. That is always supposed to be the priority key for them to find things that match up appropriately in order to get them in the right product. So, well, let's break it down. Like you said, conventional is the most commonly used product. Now, conventional financing, the type of conventional financing we talk about is conforming conventional. So if you have a first-time home buyer going in, they need to ask their loan officer, what kind of conforming conventional products do you have? And basically that means loans that conform to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac standards. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the biggest securitizers and insurances of mortgages in the world. Fannie Mae's number 1, Freddie Mac's number 2. But that's meaning.
Wait, are you going to forget the little sister too?
Well, I'm going to talk about Jenny Mae when I talk about government stuff,
Okay,
because she does come along.
yeah,
Absolutely, is an
okay,
important factor. But Fannie and Freddie, they set rules for that first time home buyer that include how much down payment is required, what kind of mortgage insurance is required if you're not going to put down 20%, the rate of that mortgage insurance, and they provide specific programs for first time home buyers. The Home Ready and the Home, what am I looking for? Home Ready product is the one that comes from Fannie Mae. And I'll think of the other one in just a second, but they both have programs that allow you to put down 3% if you have good enough credit, and you can, that 3% down situation will actually make it so that you get a reduced mortgage insurance rate because you had to finish a home buyer education course. So there's some complexities here to get this all done and out of the way. And of course, in our marketplace, the way it is, we're seeing the market not be very friendly with first-time home buyers. So first-time home buyers have to sit down with their loan officers and go through the process of understanding and being educated as to the nuance. If they want to put down 3%, they've got great credit. They need to have all this stuff finished before they get into the market itself to contract for a house.
sure.
So that's conventional financing. Conventional financing can be 30-year fixed, 20-year, 15-year fixed. It can be adjustable rate mortgages. They offer the whole gambit of different products.
Well, let's also go to the outliner that there is a 40-year conventional mortgage.
I try not to talk about that.
I understand, and I try not to either, but I want to let our be as educated as possible that there
Yeah.
are those options there. Now, in conventional world, you deal with the rates, you deal with certain aspects, but also what about the debt to income ratios? What about the loan to
Oh, sure.
value? Let's bring up some of those little idiosyncrasies that come
Okay.
along with that, please.
Yeah. Well, since we're on conventional, as Blair just mentioned, they've got 40-year products. Now, those aren't securitized and sold through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac pools. So again, that's going to be your conversation with your loan originator about, well, what kind of programs do you have? And as I alluded to earlier, 30-year, 15-year, 20-year, I will tell you that it's best to get, for all borrowers out there, if you can swing a 15-year payment, that's the way you want to go when you purchase a house. You really don't want to pay for a house for 30 years. It doesn't work out very well with regards to total interest that you end up paying. As rates go up, we're going to see this total payments that you make on a property incredibly expensive to buy a house over a long period of time. But let's get into the guidance for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac products. So ratio wise, you should not spend more than 28% of your income on your total house payment. Your total house payment includes principal and interest, yes, but also taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance, and the possibility of any HOA fees that are due. So we take that whole picture of those items all together. My favorite Hawaiian word, piti mihoa, since we're on the subject of Hawaii. Piti mihoa, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance, HOA. You take all those items together on a monthly basis and compare it to your monthly income. If that ratio exceeds 28%, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac say, okay, we got a red flag here. Now, I will tell you on the front end ratio that probably it works out to be more than 70% of the people that buy homes go over the ratio limitation that they request. So that's very typical to be in excess of that number, but that's the recommended amount, 28%. So if I make $2,000 a month, that means the most they really want to see me spend is about $560. That was, or I should, yeah, that's how that breaks down.
You're right. Yeah.
Just, uh-oh, now he's got to think. Oh my goodness, get out the calculator quick. On the back ratio reflects how much you can totally pay for the house payment, pity me hoa, and your reoccurring debt. Your reoccurring debt can be car payments, it can be credit cards, it can be child support, separate
Student loan.
maintenance, student loans, very popular one for first-time home buyers. So anything you contractually obligate yourself to repay is put in there. Things like your car insurance, your cell phone bills, and your utilities are not included. But that's because the back ratio for Fannie Mae is 36%. Well, that other 64% difference is to pay for your uh, uh, cell phones and your other things outside your gym membership and your car insurance, theoretically. Of course, I talked to the guy 3 years ago when I met him in a Walmart parking lot who apparently doesn't believe in insurance. But anyway, car insurance. But that's another story. So the back end ratio, this 28, front end ratio goes to 36, basically saying if you got 8% of your income and it was $2,000, 8% of $2,000 is $160 that you can have to pay towards cars and credit cards and student loans. I know some of our listeners are probably going, whoa, I'm way behind on that side of the balance. 8% of my total income goes towards just those things. And that's true. Most people, it's well into the 15, 17, 18% range, meaning that when you go out and apply for this loan with the loan originator, when you're talking with your loan professional, you want to be asking them, well, what is the allowance for me to go over that back ratio? Because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will allow you to go over 38% back ratio. It's done in nearly 50% of the loans that they buy. So it's extremely common to happen, but they're also going to want you to show Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac what we call compensating factors. And compensating factors are just what they sound like. Things outside the box that would give the loan originator strength to go to an underwriter and say, well, yeah, we know we're high on our ratios, but look at this. They've got extra money left over after they close. They're paying a new payment of $2,200 and they're paying $2,300 in rent currently. They have, or they're putting down more than the minimum amount required on the program. They have things that are looking good for them income wise. They're a teacher, they're finishing their master's. And so next year, their new contract will call for them to automatically be stepped up as far as their income.
I think a big one for me is reserves. Reserves are like the huge compensating factor. And what scares me is that we consider good reserves 2 months, where if you have 6 months to a year's worth of reserves, that can compensate for many things.
It sure can.
And help us understand what reserves means, please.
Well, reserves, the description of reserves is basically saying to the effect that you have additional payments in the bank after you pay everything to buy the house. So after your down payment, closing cost, and prepaids, you have 2 months reserves, 3 months reserves, 6 months reserves, as you just mentioned. That is meaning if my house payment is $1,000 a month and I have 6 months reserves, that works out to be $6,000. So you make a really super good point that that's an important aspect when Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac looks at going over this 28-36% guidance and deviating from it. They want to see something that shows, yeah, I've been responsible. I've got some additional money in the bank. Even a retirement account, if you've been fastidious about, contributing to your retirement account. I asked my daughter how much she had in a retirement account the other day, and I said, oh my gosh, if I was your age and I had that much money, I think I'd go out and spend it on a really nice Tesla. but that's the way I've raised my children, which is different than how I was raised, which is good.
Let's
They're
say
as
they've
cheap,
ignored the professor and they went on to their own ways.
they're as cheap as their dad has become.
So, in taking the conventional is the desired loan program out there. And before we go into any of the others, why is that a selected? If we were to select, we'd probably have cash only, then we'd have conventional, then FHA, VA, and then of course USDA is only in certain geographical locations. Why is conventional over the other loan programs, other financing options selected as the more apropos using loans out there in the market today?
Well, the biggest underlying reason was that if you get into a conventional loan, you're going to have some abilities later on to get rid of your mortgage insurance. In other words, conventional in the long run, in the long haul, is less expensive than an FHA loan, which would be our second most popular loan. And if we're going to rate loans as far as what's best, VA would go above, but of course, you have to have military service to be eligible for a VA loan. And you can't be a kid of somebody that served in the military. You can't be a dependent, anything like that. You
It's
have
not
to
like
be.
USAA. I understand.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Your
Very good
grandchildren
point.
get this option.
I know. Where's the Gronsker now? Right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
But
Uh,
I
but
think
but
one of that is
conventional in the long run, to answer your question, in the long run is going to be a less expensive route to go. Now it has a higher requirement to be less expensive for you to have initially very good credit or good credit.
well, and I'm going to take another. I would say that is one key thing for conventional, but two, I'm going to say is the appraisal process, the appraisal valuation. What is the difference between an appraisal of a conventional to appraisal of FHA? A lot of times selling or listing agents like Alan, hopefully he'll get back with us here shortly, but
It's
they are looking at, will the home meet that standard? And Mr. Production Manager, would you please increase my screen size just so I can see him a little bit better, please? I'm looking
no.
at thank
Oh,
you.
oh
But
gosh, that scares me.
it should.
It was a lot better, but just a second ago. Jeez.
But appraisals are a differentiation, and
Okay.
conventional is a little bit easier. Would you agree with that?
I would say that that is on its surface very true, but FHA, if you have bare flooring where the carpet's been ripped up, or if you have a broken window, I would tell you that you really should get those fixed, even if you're doing conventional financing. Those types of things that FHA finds as far as required seller repairs, those required seller repairs, um, they create some consternation on the realtor's side. But if the house is in a normal
Consternation.
consternation,
I mean, come on
I
now.
know, or
Help out this dumb veteran.
consolation.
Then don't be using those 5-syllable words.
Oh my gosh, stop it, Tommy. But the reality is that FHA doesn't do as much as they used to do with regards to mucking up the process. And I know that there's a lot of realtors out there that say, well, you can't go FHA, it's an old house. Old houses, if they're taken care of, are still going to pass the mustard. It's still going to be
Sure.
fine. So it's condition of the properties. And we find conventional appraisers nowadays are much more conscientious when there are problems in the house that are clearly problems. A house that's infested with, and I'm thinking of my hoarder house that did a loan on before. On the conventional appraisal, the appraiser went in and shot pictures only from about cabinet level up. So when he did the room pictures, he didn't show that the house was covered with these hoarding situations where there's additional animal trails and other things like that in the house. So
I have one exactly like that right now, and we've delayed the appraisal until they can clean out the house and get it
yeah,
clean and gutted. And see, that's the perception out there is
yeah,
a lot of people do not understand that the appraisal process, what is good, what is bad, it's just as equal with the FHA. Welcome back, Alan. How are you? Great
I
intro, man.
am. I know I was right in the middle of a nice introduction to this show and it went blank. So it's a bad day for internet interruptions, but evidently we have a couple going on. So
Well,
I hope
welcome
it stays
back.
on.
Welcome
Thank
back.
you.
Hopefully we can get. So again, we're in conventional world. Yes, there's options. Now, I do want to, before we close out conventional, I do want to talk to you, Tom, because you said something that I'm going to have a little bit different opinion on. You
sure.
said 15-year conventional is the optimal. But can I share with you what I think and what I personally did? I took out a 30-year. I made 3 extra monthly payments per year, and my loan was paid off in 14 years. But it gave me the flexibility. If I did not have that ability to do that, I could extend it, but it also gave me a lower monthly payment as opposed to that 15-year commitment and paying it off sooner. So there are different options in how to approach that. Would you agree? I'm not saying 15 is the best or 30-year paying more. I'm just saying there are things that you, like you said, talk to
Sure.
your loan officer,
Absolutely.
understand what's your goal. Is this your forever home or is this a starter home? Is this your, so I see so many first-time home buyers get so caught up on forever homes that you can't afford your forever home right now. This is your first time and you don't really know what you do or do not like. Alan, would you agree with that? That first-time home buyers, they go into it sometimes with rose-colored glasses and they need to have reality of, hey, this is your first home. Make sure it's resellable so that you can make that jump 3 to 7 years. Alan?
We love this.
I'm here now. I did not hear the question. I'm sorry.
That's
What's
okay.
the question?
The question is, first-time home buyers get so caught up in forever homes as opposed to their first home needs to be a starter, needs to be resellable, needs to be their springboard into their next home. And they get caught up into, well, I've got to have the 3-car garage, or I got to have a swimming pool, or I got to have a 4-bedroom.
Well,
these things
I'm
sometimes
bouncing
are
in and out here, I think, and I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm sorry. It's the internet problems in our area today. So.
Okay. Well, Tom, what is your opinion? Let's see if we can't at least get some insight, because you're not only a realtor, but you also instruct them. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I feel like it's a reality check piece. I'm in the numbers business like you are. And if I get somebody in a hole as far as their potential payment, that does come back and, haunt me to some degree. I think it's the reality check piece that, just like you said, the first house that I bought was like my parents' first house. It was a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that we went back in and fixed up. It was cute. It was nice. But we bought that with the sense of we're going to resell it, not that it's my forever dream home. So the reality check of the forever dream home thing with people is oftentimes kind of a slap in the face, because or a slap in the face, it's a reality check piece that we need to do to say, look, financially, this doesn't make sense for you. This doesn't make sense to look at this over that reason. And I want to go back to your point about you're disciplined to make 3 extra payments a year. That requires courage, consternation. I love using that word today. it includes dedication to the mortgage and the mortgage payment. And my parents taught me
Requires
that
money
early
too.
on in my life. It requires money too.
Money. Yeah. And I tell you, the first time home buyers right now are really having a struggle. And I think I missed the first part of the show here with the internet connection, but I'm sure you covered the fact that it's very hard for a first time home buyer at this point. The prices have gone up. Cash has come into the market. Asset management companies are buying market share over list price dramatically. Homeowners, buyers are having to pay way over list price using complete waivers of loan appraisals. I, in all my career as being a realtor, which has been quite a while, I've not seen it like this. So the first time home buyer is dealing with, all the things that the government put there for them, the FHA, the VA. It's hard to use them right now. And one of the things that I was hoping we could talk about until I had the problem with the internet is, Blair's comments on most realtors don't understand FHA and VA in an environment like this, because sellers it's like talking to the hand. I want cash or I want a conventional loan. I want to know that people have a lot of money in the bank to completely waive any appraisal that might come in low or at list price. So a lot of the FHA buyers don't have $50, $60, $70, $80,000 laying around. And right now, the last couple $350,000 homes I've witnessed myself and on real estate boards, they're going for 415, 425, and they're doing it with cash and conventional loans. At least that's what I'm reading on the history. So it's been difficult. The other part is it's such an emotional thing to make your best purchase ever, your biggest purchase ever. And when you're a first-time home buyer, that's magnified. I see that all the time. I have to talk to them about life in general, about managing a budget, about they'll ask questions about credit cards and about school loans, and then I refer them to people like Blair, and Blair can explain it much better than I can. But there's a lot going into this, and emotionally, it is tough to get a home buyer to hang in there. Your house is coming, your time is coming. They get really down because they have history, access to the history of these prices also. And they know going in now that their odds are not good if they don't have an extra 50K sitting around. And the majority of home buyers don't. So I just wanted to say that in a nutshell. It's frustrating for buyers. It's frustrating for realtors, for lenders. I'm sure Blair has 15, 20 people approved for buying a home that are just stuck. And that happens in this kind of market. And it's frustrating. And
it looks like it's frustrating for internet connection too sometimes. I mean,
hey, hopefully I'm still here. But the seller, I know we got to go, but the sellers are not really enjoying it that much either. They're getting 25 offers to look at, showings lining up at the doors, and people going through their houses, crazy like. And it's not fun for anybody at this moment. But I will say, this too will pass. Things will change in the market. Eventually, it will level out and average out. The problem is nobody can ever predict when that will happen. But what we have to deal with today is today's environment, and it's tough.
And I just want to take a break real quick. We need to thank one of our key sponsors, Champion School of Real Estate, right here represented by our own professor, Tommy. Give us a quick overview. You're going to Hawaii, and Champion School is sending you there. So
yeah, they're paying for me to go to Hawaii. Okay.
I expect a lay coming back.
A big lie going on there. You might get a lay, but you're not going to get the lie.
Uh-oh.
Fortunately, they did facilitate me making enough money that I could afford to go there. But I will tell you, I shopped those airfares. I don't remember if you guys remember about 3 months ago, for about 6 days, Southwest had airfares sale. And so I had a voucher to fly one of us out there, my daughter, and the other 2 airfares cost us less than $700 for both of them. round trip, not
That's
just one
awesome.
way. Even though I thought about buying it just one way, just to let you know.
Well, we do want to
I
thank
sure hope they're
Champion
putting
School of
enough
Real
gas in the
Estate.
airplanes.
Thanks.
We do want to thank Champion
Yeah.
School of Real Estate for sponsoring Welcome Home Radio and our podcast. It is such a blessing, and you guys do so much in this industry to help people understand whether they're surveyors, appraisers, loan officers, or realtors. Thank you so much for all you do, and we're so grateful to have you here. Guys, we need to move on, but conventional and everything you said about market conditions, Alan, is very true. We want to bring up now FHA. What is the big difference between conventional and FHA, Tom?
Well, the big difference, I would tell you, generally speaking, is going to be the mortgage insurance coverage necessary. With conventional type financing, you get mortgage insurance, yes. What is mortgage insurance? It is a cost that strictly protects the lender against the borrower's default of the mortgage. That's all it does. So on conventional, what happens is that the mortgage insurance you pay for is typically less expensive, always less expensive than FHA's, because the mortgage insurance for conventional only covers partial losses by the investor. FHA's insurance program covers the entire amount of loss that could occur for an investor. So it's more expensive, and it never goes away. That meaning that after a certain time with conventional, it'll go away after you pay the loan down to 78% of what you originally paid for the house.
Mr. Instructor, I have to ask, FHA can never go away?
FHA can never go away until you refinance the house or sell it. Let me make, there's always an exception to every rule. Let me quantify this. If you made a 10% down payment on an FHA deal, it goes away after 11 years. So there are certain circumstances, but we always ask each other, who puts down 10% on an FHA deal?
I've never seen one in all the years.
In all the years. I mean, I've had maybe 2, maybe 3 in my entire career where I saw more than 3.5% being put down. And
Right.
FHA, the person from HUD in Washington, D.C., if you put down 10%, flies to your new house once you move in it, and they give you a hug on the doorstep. I mean, that's how rare it is as far as
So
it occurring.
that's how Dr. Ben Carson got met? I mean,
yeah, that may have been exactly how old Ben, met.
Who doesn't
Now-
love a
people.
hug?
now
I know.
the thing about FHA, let's talk about the critical thing. Why would somebody talking to a loan officer end up having to go FHA instead of conventional? What would be the reasoning that would require the best loan program for them really is FHA and not conventional?
Well, there's multiple. It's that person dreaming and buying their dream home thing. That's the first one. In other words, they're paying more for the house than what they either planned or what they either wanted to do as far as their budget. I had 2 ladies buying a house over in the Oak Cliff area, and they were just great first-time home buyers. They had great credit. They had great jobs. They made enough money that it was going to be a good deal for them to go conventional. And the realtor, not to say anything bad about realtors, knowing what my budget was, knowing what the max price was they wanted to pay, kept showing them more and more expensive houses. And eventually we got to the point where I had to turn to them and say, I can't do conventional on this anymore. We're so far up on our ratios at 48% that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac's not doing this loan anymore. So we had to switch them over to FHA. So that would be one of the reasons. The second reason is FHA is designed more for first-time home buyers. I mean, that's actually kind of the mantra that they put out when they put out the program in the last 20 years. That meaning that they're going to be more generous with hickeys in your credit world. So if I've got some late pays in the last 3 months or late payments in the last 12 months, they're going to be more aggressive with credit and credit scores than conventional is. Credit scores actually with FHA go down to 500. Now, good luck with getting somebody with a 550 credit score in a house, but typically they go to 580 where credit score, minimum credit score, versus 620 on a conventional borrower. So they allow for that as well. So not only the ratios, being able to buy more house, being more aggressive with the credit, FHA, that's where they kind of kick in with why people would pick them over a conventional loan.
Now, Alan, why would a realtor not want to see an FHA opportunity when they're requiring conventional? What is the issue on their side that they're looking at and saying, we may not want to do FHA?
Well, are you talking about the seller or the buyer?
The seller, the
Seller?
listing agent.
Yeah. The sellers right now, it's a market of everything's worth what somebody will pay for it. And in general, I'm saying in general, the people that have conventional qualifications and or cash are better prepared to satisfy a seller's wishes, i.e. fast close, just a quicker transaction in general, and again, the complete waiver of any appraisal necessary. So that's the big key items right there. And it's when I have FHA clients, and I know you do too, Blair, and we probably share one or two of them. I'm sure we do. So it is just difficult right now to we make offers and we do as best we can with what we're working with. But as a realtor, you stay in your lane. You should stay in your lane, promote your client best you can based on the facts. And you go in as strong as you can based on the facts and use all your ammunition possible based on desire and, again, the facts. And then that's working with the listing agent. The listing agents are at this point getting kind of bold. Well, we're really looking for cash or conventional. And I go, excuse me, I have a veteran I'm working with. You're not looking for that? Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Send that in. So it's a little bit of that. And then if on the listings, you can enter the type loans that this house qualifies for. And in general, that's there for good intentions. If it's got, a lot of wood rot and bad things in it, that will keep a, FHA loan away a little bit, that kind of a thing. But now we're seeing on a lot of the listings, it specifically says cash or conventional. And if you're a new realtor, I don't care, just anybody who hadn't done this very long, you might not even bother your client with that. Okay. In fact, they might not even see it because you might have loan type specifications. And if it doesn't say VA or conventional, your client might not even get access to it. So those are all things going on right now in this particular market since probably the middle of 2021 until present.
I want to mention just a couple of things as to Alan that our listeners I want to point out. One, to make sure they understand that if a seller says, I only want to entertain conventional or cash offers, that is legal. Some people sometimes hear and think, well, that's discriminatory. Being in the military, being a first-time home buyer is not a protected class under ECOA. So I always want to point that out, that is part of the issue. But I do want to point out that for our realtors out there that are listening, unless you have in writing that they don't want to entertain one of those offers and it's a VA deal, and you write a VA deal, it has to be presented to a realtor. And it has to be not just to the realtor, it has to be presented to the seller by law. So I want to make sure our realtors understand you can't just arbitrarily say, well, that's not what they wanted. You need to have it in writing from the seller of the house. I don't care if they want an FHA or VA loan. I don't want to see it. You need that in writing. So I just want to make sure everybody's understanding, because definitely I don't want anybody to get in trouble, but I don't want somebody to think, well, that's outside the standards of the law, that's discriminatory. It's not. You can specify, what kind of financing you will allow to be used to buy your house.
Good point. And we have not talked about the loan amounts of conventional or FHA because we talked about those just last month. So want to make sure clients understand there are loan amount differences depending on the county for FHA. Conventional across the board is $647,200. And VA tends to follow right along with conventional, even though their loan limit is flexible. And also the ratios are flexible with the VA. Veterans are they're trying to help out veterans as much as possible in that sense. But VA loans, FHA loans, conventional loans, the biggest difference that I see, and correct me where I'm wrong, guys, comes down to is the appraisal. Yes, the money requirements are there, but the appraisal impacts a lot of decisions that the listing agent makes and the buying agent makes and negotiations. And I don't know if we want to discuss, but I want to at least let our listeners understand what are those differences, because FHA and VA are very strong, and especially VA protecting the veteran on, is the home ready to be moved into? There can't be much repair work. In fact, FHA has limited repair work being after the fact, after the close. Most of it has to happen before closing. What are those key things that they need to know the differences of and why, so that we make sure we're not being taken down the wrong road?
Well,
I'm sure I understand your question.
My appraiser teacher, Randy, wasn't able to join us today, but he gave me a little bit of heads up on some of the things you were asking about as far as,
Okay.
what's required. So I beat him up a little bit, but I wasn't able to actually sit down with him as much as I wanted to. And by the way, Randy, who teaches our appraisal class at Champion School of Real Estate, is I have got his commitment to be with us since we now have our schedules laid out, and he's going to be able to get with us here.
Awesome.
And actually talk a little bit more directly about this, because the USPAP's requirements in the state of Texas require that an appraiser, whether they're doing it for FHA, VA, or conventional, reflect the reasonable value of the property without any external influences as of the day they're standing in the property when they make their assessment. So if you've got a property that's down the street that's going to sell for an extra $100,000 that's going to close on Friday, and the appraiser's in the other house on Monday of that week, he's not going to be able to use that extra $100,000 sales price that was down the street. So that's the first thing you've got to understand. It's as of the time they're standing in the house. So some people will put crazy, wild prices on homes when they list them, thinking, my neighbor down the street, when he listed his house for blah, 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 I was like, boy, if he can get that, I better sell my house, because I'm going to end up paying taxes on, the money that I make on it. So I was blown away when it finally did sell, but I know it did not appraise. From the conversation with the real estate professional,
that's where it goes. The seller is the boss, and the listing agent's job is to do the best job they can for their seller. And generally that means the quickest money and the most money. And in an environment like this, if your house is immaculate, you're going to get, I had one on a real estate board. They had 97 requests for showings, 97. They cut it off at 40. So, and they got way, way, way over list price. So, there's a lot of that going on, and it's just.
But appraisers can't do the price. Appraisers can't come up with price until they've got a history of that happening in that neighborhood, which is what I want. Their appraisal, their estimation of value is at the time they're in the property. And I want to defend appraisers in this fact that they do hard work. They work hard to get to where they are with regards to the time that they put in. They have hard requirements as far as renewal of their licenses. They're overseen by TREC. They're one of the most scrutinized aspects of home buying. And yet we oftentimes beat them up when in reality, they're just doing their job according to what they're given with regards to the standards, not crazy loony people paying $500,000 in cash over the asking price, which happens in Austin. I mean, that blows me away when I hear stories from my compadres that teach in Austin about some of the realities down there of what Elon Musk and all the tech people moving to Austin, what they're creating as far as a market to sell your house there. It's unheard of.
Yeah, and I just totally back Tom up on the appraisal part. That's a good part. That's not a hard thing for most realtors to explain, is that process. The hard part to explain is the second part Tom talked about, is the people coming in paying $1 million more for a house than you would ever expect. And that is what's going on. And yeah, I got nothing but cred for the appraisers. They got a rough job. We've had an appraiser on the show before, and she was very good about how hard it is to get trained, the apprenticeship, the low wages to start, and the commitment it takes to be an appraiser. So, and I talk to appraisers when I am listing a property. Sometimes they'll call and they'll ask questions. And again, you do your best. But nothing but love for appraisers. The hard part for all of us right now that are in the trenches here is just the goofy prices that houses are getting right now. And we have different jobs depending on what our status is, listing, buyer agent.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut us off here. We have had a wonderful time. We're probably going to have to come back to that. If you want to leave questions or concerns or comments, go to welcomehomeradio.net. Leave your questions there. You'll also find us on Facebook and YouTube. Guys, I just thank you for this time. I wish every first-time home buyer good luck. I hope you work with a great loan officer, a great realtor, and find the home that will get you started in home buying process. I thank you. I'm Blair Thomas.
I'm Tom Holm.
I'm Alan Pace.
And that's Alan. The
God
other
bless.
one.